So the basics is, if we have a circle and the centre of the circle is C, we can have any 2 points on the circle, A and B. If we join A and B together using a line, this is called a chord. A chord is a segment that begins and ends on the circle and cuts the circle in 2 places. We cool with that? Alright. Next thing. When you get the midpoint of the chord and you draw a perpendicular line to the chord, what will happen is that perpendicular line has to travel through the centre of the circle. Is that alright? So remember, in this case, AM equals MB and CM is perpendicular AB. So that's just a trick you know that goes through the centre of the circle. Are you cool with that? Any questions? Great. Next one. The perpendicular bisector of a chord contains the centre. So an example would be something like this. Once again, we draw a circle. Okay? And there's 2 methods for this, so it's good to know about methods. Draw 3 random points on your circle. A, B, and C. We cool with that? Pick any 2 chords you want. I'm not going to pick A and C because it sort of goes through this. Sort of goes through the centre, doesn't it? Or it did a minute ago. So here's what we're going to do. Everybody see AB? Yeah? What we're going to do is we're going to get the perpendicular bisector. What does the perpendicular bisector mean? We're going to get the midpoint. And what we're going to do after the midpoint? We're going to get a line that goes through the red point but is perpendicular to AB. So it's perpendicular to AB, like so. And what it should do is it should go through the centre of the circle. Is everybody cool with that? Then we pick another chord. Queen, pick another chord. BC or AC, whichever one you want. Queen chose AC, no bother. There's AC right there. You cool with that, Queen? Now what we're going to do next, Queen, is we're going to get the midpoints. So we'll just do it by eye. Where do you think the midpoint will be roughly? About there? Okay? And we'll do it as a blue midpoint. Once again, we get the equation of, we get a line that is perpendicular to AC but goes through the midpoint. Basically the perpendicular bisector. And what do you expect to happen there? What should happen? The blue line and the red line intersect at the centre of the circle. Does that make sense? Blue line and red line intersect at the centre of the circle. So here's what we're going to do now. This brings us on to question 10. And in question 10, what we're looking to do is it gives us what to do. What we want to do is we want to get the perpendicular bisector of AB. So we get AB, we find its midpoint, and then we do a perpendicular bisector, like so. Then what it wants us to do is to go to BC, which we'll do in red. And what you're going to do is you're going to use BC as a chord. And what you're going to do is you're going to get the midpoint of BC. And then you're going to get a perpendicular bisector to BC. Roughly like that. And if we do it correctly, we should be able to find the centre of the circle where the blue line hits the red line. And we're hoping that we'll be able to get the centre of the circle. Actually, that's pretty accurate. No, it's not accurate at all. You have to keep going. Sorry, give me a sec. Keep going. Oh, I'm off centre. Let me see. Trying to make this fit. Actually, I should have used the compass. There you go. Is that alright? So you're going to have to follow all the steps and see if you get the circle. So do all the questions here, and you're going to see if you can get the centre of the circle using that method. Okay? Off you go. Okay. Three things you need. You need the midpoint formula. You need the midpoint formula. we need the slope formula. And we need the equation of the line formula to make this work. Okay, find the perpendicular bisector. Right, so 0 to 1 is 1, so it's going to be this point here, which we'll call D. It's going to be a half, because it's 0 plus 1, which is 1 over 2, which is a half. And this is going to be 2. That's going to be minus 2 plus 2, which is 0. 0 over 2 is 0. So the midpoint is a half 0. Okay, so the point D is a half 0. Next thing we're going to go after is the slope. So we call this x1, y1, call this x2, y2. Slope is going to be 2 minus minus 2 all over 1 take away 0. Has a slope of 4. Did everybody get that? A half 0, slope of 4? Awesome. Now, you don't want the slope of 4. What you want is the perpendicular line that goes through it. So you want this red line here that's perpendicular to your original line. So, no, that's not what I wanted. So you want the red line. The black line is your chord. The red line is the perpendicular bisector. So what's the slope of the red line, the perpendicular bisector? Anybody? Has to be perpendicular to 4. Minus a quarter, yeah. Lob it into this formula here. And we're going to get y. Now it goes through the point a half 0, which is x1, y1. So it's going to be y minus y1 equals minus a quarter into x minus a half. Bring the 4 up, we're going to get 4y equals minus x plus a half. Multiply both sides by 2. 8y equals minus 2x plus 1. Move it onto one side, I'm going to get 2x plus 8y equals 1. And I'm going to pause. Alright, so I'm happy with 2x plus 8y equals 1. Alright, next thing we're going to go for is BC. So BC is we'll use a different colour. BC is like the orange line. Okay, we're going to find the midpoint of B to C, and we'll call this point E. So point E in blue. Okay, so add the x values together. We're going to have 0 plus 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And then we're going to have minus 2 minus 3 divided by 2, which is minus 5 over 2, which is minus 2.5. Did anybody get that as the midpoint? 2 minus 2.5. Alright? Now, next thing you have to do is find the slope. That's x1, y1. Call this x2, y2. We're finding the slope of B to C. So to find the slope of B to C, it's going to be minus 3 minus minus 2 all over 4 minus 0, which is minus 1 over 4. Yeah, minus 1 over 4. It looks parallel to the other line, doesn't it? They look parallel to each other, so that's no surprise they actually have the same slope as each other. That's okay. So what's the perpendicular slope for the, we'll call it the blue line? So what we're looking for the blue line? The blue line is going to be 4. So the dotted blue line has a slope of 4. Okay. Next thing I have to do is find out the equation of the blue line. Is everybody happy with the equation of the blue line? So let's find the equation of the blue line using the equation of the line formula. So what do we get in here? What point does it go through? What point does the blue line travel through? Point E, which is 2 minus 2.5. That's the point I need to use. Y plus 2.5 equals 4 into x minus 2. 4x minus 8. Y plus 2.5. Bring the 4x over the other side. Minus 4x plus y equals... What's 8 minus 2.5? Yeah. Now, can anybody tell me what the next step is? So I have this line here and this line here. Where's the centre of the circle, do you think? Centre of the circle is located here. Everybody see it? Okay. And here's what we're going to do. I'll get a compass this time. I'll show you what I'm going to try and do. That's a ruler, Mr. Kenny. That's a ruler. Alright. Let's look at this. See where the centre of the circle is? Who does TG? Let me do TG. So, what I should be able to do here is, if I bring it all the way down to point C, like so, I should be able to encapsulate it all in a circle. I'm slightly off in my drawing, haven't I? But you see the fact that it should go through A, B and the circle should go through A, B and C. Alright? So that's what we're basically doing. Okay? Now to find out the centre of the circle, we're going to do a simultaneous equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the red equation by 2. Now I'm going to multiply the red equation by 2. What will I get? Red equation by 2, lads. 4x plus 16y equals what? 2. Right? And this better come out nicely. I think it does. 17y equals minus 8.5. Y equals minus a half. So y is minus a half. Now let's find the x value then. So what would the x value be? 4x plus 16y equals 2. 4x plus 16 times minus a half is equal to minus a half. Is that right with you guys? Next thing we're going to do after that is what? What's 16 times minus a half? What? Minus 8. Okay. Bring over the 8 over the other side. What's 8 take away a half? Well, and what's 7.5 divided by 4? 15 over 8. Terrible numbers, by the way. These are shocking numbers for a question. Anyways, we found out the answer to part 3. What's the answer to part 3? 15 over 8 and minus a half. Now, can anybody in the class tell me how do you find the if this is the centre of the circle, 15 over 8 and minus a half is the centre of the circle. So let's get rid of all these constructions for a minute, okay? Let's go back to the very beginning. 1 second. Did I make a mistake on it?
Pretty sure x is 2.5.
Is that what it says in the back of the book? That 15 over 8 was actually wrong. You can see right here, it made a very, very simple mistake. See the 2 here? It changes into minus a half for no valid reason. We all do it. So just got to go back here and say no bother. That was actually 2. So 2 and 2. Bring over the 8 over the other side and we get 4x equals, anybody? 10. And then x equals 2.5. Thanks very much. So that is 2.5 and minus 0.5. We cool with that? Alright. Now, if we go back to the very beginning of the question, I'm talking in the very beginning, okay? So what we have now is, I'm going to get rid of all this because the board is very cluttered. Okay, board is extremely cluttered at the moment. And here's what we're basically left with now. We know that this is 2.5 and, what else do we know? Minus a half, yeah? And I'm just going to get rid of these lines. If you were asked to get the radius, what would that mean? If this is the center of the circle, okay, what would be the radius then? How would you get the radius if that is the center of the circle? Sorry. What could you do? Get the distance from your center to any point on your circle. Does that make sense? So to get the radius, why don't we just use to the point C? So how would you find the distance from the center of your circle to the point C? Can anybody tell me? Center of your circle to the point C. Anybody know? What would you do? Use the distance formula. Okay. And what do we get then? 4 take away 2.5 squared plus minus 3 plus 0.5 squared. So for those who can't see that, I'll put it into the calculator. It's the square root of 4 take away 2.5 squared plus minus 3 plus 0.5 squared, and we get, is that right, root 34 over 2? Let's check that one more time. 4 or 2.9. 4 take away 2.5 is perfect, and minus 3 plus 0.5 is also correct. Yeah, I think we're good at that. It'll fix itself in a minute, don't worry about that. What's it saying in the back, lads? What? Root 17 over 2. Not root 34. Okay, give me a sec. Root 17 over 2. Alright. y2 minus y1 y1 minus 2.5. Alright guys, sticking to it. My radius is root 34 over 2. You'll see why in a second, okay? Now, finally we have to wrap this up with the center of our circle formula, which is this. We okay with that? What's the center of our circle again? 2.5 and 0.5, yeah? So what can we say here? X minus 2.5 squared plus y plus 0.5 squared. And look what happens when I square my answer here. Answer squared 17 over 2. So, is that okay with you guys? Alright, we're only going to learn one method today. That's the only thing we're going to learn today, is how to do this, alright? So I'd like you to do question 12 using the same method. And question 12 to do 11 and 12 using the same method. Now I know in question 11 it tells you to use a different method. I don't want that. what I want you to do is I want you to use the same method for 11 and 12. And then tomorrow I teach you the new method as well, okay? There's two methods I need you to know.